Okay. Imagine that you are in a far-off land, dying of malaria, and you are surrounded by all of your best friends. It sounds like a mixed bag, but the person dying is Alexander the Great, excuse me, and he must have been, he must have had somewhat of a satisfying feeling when he passed away, because he had conquered all of the known world, and on his deathbed he was just 32 years old. Alexander was born in 316 BC in Pella, the ancient capital of Macedon, now called Macedonia. That's the area that would be just north of Greece. Present-day Macedonia and a couple of the neighboring countries. His father was King Philip, and King Philip of Macedon was the first to unite all of the people, all the tribes, and warring city-states. And he subsequently, through bribery, warfare, and political alliances, wound up controlling all of the Greek states too. So thereafter, Macedonia and Greece were combined. When Alexander was 13 years old, his father hired the famous Greek philosopher Aristotle to be his tutor. And for 3 years, Aristotle would teach Alexander rhetoric, science, literature, medicine, philosophy. And at the same time, his father was imparting him with the knowledge of warfare and politics, mainly dirty politics. When Alexander was 20 years old, his father was assassinated. Now, many people say that both the mother and Alexander himself had something to do with it because, of course, he had a lot to gain. He had an empire. Alexander immediately went about trying to fulfill his father's plans of destroying the Persian Empire, the preeminent superpower at the time. Alexander crossed the Hellespont, which is the 100-yard strip of water that connects Asia to Europe. He crossed over with approximately 47,000 troops to take on the entire empire of the Persians. He had a lot of cojones. He met and defeated the Persian army, part of the Persian army, at a place called Granicus, which is now in modern-day Turkey. After which, he moved on farther east to, farther southeast to the city of Isis. Now, the reason for him doing this is because he didn't have a fleet himself to challenge the Persians in the eastern Mediterranean. So he decided, well, if I can't fight on the water, I'll destroy all of their ports. So he attacked every city that the Persians had that was capable of launching ships. He destroyed the city of Isis, and then he attacked the city of Tyre. Tyre was just off the coast. It was basically an island. And how he and his men got there was they spent 2 years to build a land bridge. They just got all the garbage, all the stones, all the dirt they could, and built a land bridge out to the city, besieged the walls, knocked them down, took the city, massacred everybody, sold anybody that was living into slavery. After which, he moved further on and conquered the areas of Syria and Palestine. Next, he moved on in 332 BC, just a few years later, to Egypt. He took over Egypt and founded the city of Alexandria, the first of many cities to bear his name, which wound up, the city of Alexandria and the Greek Macedonian rulers there wound up ruling for hundreds of years after, even into the Roman times. Hence Cleopatra. She was the last Ptolemaic ruler of Egypt. And after that, Alexander moved to Gaugamela in modern Iraq. This battle was one of the major battles of ancient history. It established Alexander the Great as the Great. He faced off with 47,000 men against 100,000. And he decisively defeated the Persians, drove the Persian king off the field. The Persian king wound up in Afghanistan, running away, being killed by his own men. After that, he still had the hunger to conquer more and moved south into India to further expand his empire. He was actually invited to do this by one of the Indian kings to help in a battle against another king. And these guys had war elephants, which would seem pretty intimidating, but because of the Greek phalanx, he was able to stop the elephants and even drive them back onto the Indian armies, and it ended up trampling the whole army. Anybody that was left was taken out by Alexander's cavalry. After this, Alexander decided it was time to pack up and head home. His men had had enough. So they began the long march. After 8 years and 17,000 miles, they had had enough, so they began the long march back home. Well, the march ended in Babylon, modern-day Baghdad in Iraq, with Alexander dying of malaria. He had no heirs, so the empire was split into 4 sections, and it lasted just for several decades beyond that, with the city-state of Alexandria surviving for several hundred years. And the legacy of Alexander the Great is that it connected the Eastern worlds and Western worlds. And I got my information from historyofmacedonia.org and Wars That Changed the World by Charles Messenger. Thank you.